today's objectives, and let's see if we kind of got through all the content. And then that may help you understand if you've got any more questions. So we were going to explain how preparation was key to a successful presentation, discuss effective delivery of a presentation using PowerPoint, and identify some of those common PowerPoint mistakes to avoid. Too much text on the slide, looking at the screen and reading from the screen versus engaging with your participants, reading your notes, blocking the view of the screen for your participants, as well as making sure that there wasn't too much content on the slides. So now let's review some of those do's and don'ts so that we can avoid some of those PowerPoint presentation mistakes. So you always want to, if you're able to, share your slides, but do so after the presentation. You don't want to share the slides before the presentation. This is just a general rule of thumb, and I'll just be honest. If someone sends me the presentation prior to the meeting, I'm going to look at the slides. I'm going to say, I got what I needed from the slides, so I'm not going to go to the presentation. Or I'm going to go to the presentation. I may not be paying full attention. I may have already made notes and decided this is where I'm going to pay attention, this is where I'm going to multitask. So making sure that you share your slides after the presentation increases the level of attention that you receive from the participants. You also want to make sure that at the beginning of the presentation, you review the objectives and agenda. Doing so, make sure that you level set with your participants. Otherwise, you're going to launch into presenting without level setting, and people won't really understand why they're there, what benefits they're going to gain from it, and then also how the day will flow so they'll understand any questions that they may have may be answered in a future session.
Yeah. So do you mean like make an agenda, like make a paper and write down for them? Or
that's a great question. I actually mean, and I'm going to go back just at the beginning, that when you're preparing your presentation, make sure that every presentation begins with an agenda and objective so people understand what they're going to gain from the presentation and how the agenda will flow. So this is a very simple one based on the fact that we're talking about facilitating a PowerPoint presentation, but depending on the content, you may be going over different topics. And if folks were thinking they were going to learn something that they're not going to learn today, then you can figure out how do we address that in the next steps. Great question. Okay, and you also want to engage participants while facilitating. You don't want to just speak at people. You want to make eye contact. You want to ask questions. The PowerPoint and you are not the only thing in the room. Make sure you're interacting with everyone throughout. And don't just rely on the PowerPoint and forget to facilitate. Don't just read from the PowerPoint and forget to share some of the best practices and some of your experiences that adds value to why the participants are in the room. Look at your participants. Don't look at the slide or stand there reading from your notes, and never engage with the people in the room with you.
So what, do you have to use PowerPoint, or could you use like Google Slides?
You could use other tools. And so that's one of those things at the beginning when we talked about, is PowerPoint the right tool? And PowerPoint may just be the software that you have access to. So if you think about from a cost implications perspective, if Google Slides is something that you can access for free, then leverage that versus needing to go out and buy PowerPoint, load it to your screen. And Google Slides in a lot of cases is a lot more user-friendly. It's just about really what is it that's available in your environment, your organization. At schools, I know Google Slides is very popular. At certain corporations, like the company that I work for, everyone works from the same PowerPoint. Legal and compliance loves it and keeps it updated so that we feel like we're getting fresh content even though we're all pretty much using the same thing.
So when I do use Google Slides, so if you have a Google Chromecast, it like allows you to like connect to your phone, so you could be walking around without like your computer and you could still like change the screen, but you could be like all the way across the room doing it.
That is a great idea, and that replaces the need for the wireless mouse or pointer. So that's a great thought. Thank you for sharing that insight. And don't forget to speak to the content. So speak about what you know. What you're presenting should be something you already know. So therefore, you shouldn't have to read from the slide. And stand to the side of the screen. You don't want to stand in front of the screen. You might want to walk about, but always make sure that you get to the side of the screen. And if you do plan on blocking the screen, be sure to leverage that B key to block it out so that you're not distracting from content on the screen. And always allow time for questions either during or at the end of your presentation. But make sure that you end your presentation with a proper conclusion. You don't want to end with the question and answer period. You want to make sure that you have a chance to close out, provide some next steps, and you don't want to take it all the way to the last minute where now you don't have time to give individuals information on next steps, how they'll get information, etc. So with that, I'm going to conclude this presentation with the promise to distribute these slides to you so that you'll be able to leverage them in the future, and then also to provide some additional content on how you can leverage other software that's very similar to PowerPoint, that with some of the same sort of functionality and tools, similar to the Google Slides that you spoke with. So thank you so much for joining me today.